Du hast nicht die leiseste Ahnung.
The world's largest sporting event. The Olympics, soon again in August. More than 200 countries will compete in Rio. One nation, however, could be absent. Russia is facing exclusion from the Olympics. The charge? State doping in the world's largest country. December 2014. One of the biggest sports scandals in history comes to light.
Allegations of an Olympic scandal.
A dark day for the sport of athletics.
Triggered by an ARD film about doping in Russia. Russian whistleblowers come clean.
You must dope, and this is how it's done in Russia.
They provide shocking evidence.
We can still work with oxandrolone and primobolan.
In Russia, I'll become the enemy number one.
Fear. They flee from Russia.
C'est un scandale de grande ampleur qui va bouleverser.
Official investigations.
Our recommendation is that the Russian Federation be suspended.
Retrospective doping tests. Numerous Russians are found guilty.
Allegations have come out in the New York Times and revolve around this man, Grigory Rodchenkov.
New suspicions. Doping cover-ups with the help of the Secret Service.
Criminal act planned by the Russian Secret Service.
Russia suspects a conspiracy of the West.
They are jealous about our success. They don't want us to win.
April 2016. For the first time in a long while, I'm in Russia once again. The ARD reports about doping in Russia have not pleased many people in this country. Among them, the Russian government. I will meet the sports minister for the first time. On many occasions previously, I tried in vain to get an interview with Vitaly Mutko. Only a short time ago, he had still claimed that the doping allegations were a conspiracy of the West. Meanwhile, a Western PR agency has been commissioned to improve the public image of Russian sports. According to a recent report of the World Anti-Doping Agency, Russia is the world leader in terms of doping. Would you not admit that Russian sport has ultimately failed completely?
What can I say? Well, Russia has never claimed that it does not have a problem with doping. But we have worked consistently on the problem of doping during the past 5 to 6 years. Based on WADA recommendations, we have dismissed all the staff right down to the 4th level, all of them, of whom it was said that they are corrupt. They are no longer there.
No longer there. I will check that. A Russian, let's refer to him as Sergei, is helping me with the research. He would like to remain incognito. Sergei had already provided me with support on my last film in March. For example, in finding this man, Yuri Gordeev. Apparently a man pulling the strings behind doping. At that time, I wanted to know whether that was true. Sergei played the role of the decoy. He said,
"We need oxandrolone and primobolan."
Gordeev replies,
"That's no problem."
Have you also got clean testosterone?
Yes.
And have you everything in stock?
Yes, of course. But let's really not talk about it on the phone.
A doping dealer in the grandstand at the Russian Athletics Championships. And what happened after the broadcast of this film? I would like to know that from the new leadership of the Russian Athletics Federation, whose athletes are currently suspended from all competitions worldwide as a result of the doping revelations.
Hello.
These audio recordings from your film, with the recorded discussions, were passed on to a drug control department. Now the decision will be taken as to whether even criminal proceedings will be initiated against Gordeev.
In other words, Gordeev is out?
Yes, of course, he is suspended, and the regional authorities know about that.
Suspension means that the doping dealer is prohibited from working in sport, coaching athletes, or supervising them in any other way. Sounds like a new start. But can it be believed? My Russian contact hits the road. Sergei travels to one of the central locations for the Olympic preparations of the Russian track and field athletes. Kislovodsk, 1,500 kilometers south of Moscow, close to the border with Georgia. Sergei takes a look around in a part of the forest on the edge of the town, with the camera concealed. Everywhere, athletes are to be seen with their coaches, also from the national team. And then he finds him. The man with the blue pants is Yuri Gordeev. As if it is simply a matter of course, he's apparently still coaching Russian athletes. Gordeev appears to feel safe here. The doping dealer from the Russian championships in February. And now? The Russian team championships just a couple of days ago. One of the rare opportunities at the moment for Russia's top athletes to participate in a competition. Since the suspension of their federation, they're not permitted to compete internationally. International doping controllers put in an appearance. They would prefer not to be recognized, but in fact, apparently regular doping controls are taking place. National controllers may not currently be involved here because Russia's anti-doping agency is suspended on the grounds of covering up cases of doping.
With us, everyone is informed. The organizers of the championships and the people who conduct the training. If doping controllers come along, they must be allowed to enter and to take samples. We are open for everyone. Please, come along, do some testing.
Doping controls in the largest country in the world. Tens of thousands of athletes, many medal-winning hopes, yet only a few hundred tests in Olympic year. And if foreign controllers want to test Russians, they often find themselves faced with resistance. For instance, in Tryokhgony, a restricted military area in the Urals, with an atomic weapon research center. In this, of all places, right now, Russia's top athletes are training. In Cologne, I meet a woman who wanted to control one of them in May. Angelika Wiesmann tells me that she had been turned away on the outskirts of the town. Only hours later, the athlete was brought to her. The test could be made. However, there were many complications.
After about 10 minutes, 3 security guards of the Russian Secret Service, the FSB, arrived and demanded to see our papers and told us in no uncertain terms that we really had no business being here in this town.
How did you feel in that situation?
For me, it was a very uncomfortable situation because the people really were armed and pointed out specifically to me that I may never stay within 80 kilometers of this town. Otherwise, they would deport me and cancel my visa.
Didn't they care that as an international doping controller you had tests to do?
No, not at all. I've never experienced anything like this in my career.
Tryokhgony, the restricted military zone. Strict access limitations. Hardly anyone is allowed to enter. Doping controls scarcely possible. Why do athletes train in areas like this? These two believe that there is a system behind all this. The world-class runner Yulia Stepanova and her husband Vitaly fled to the United States. the star witnesses on the doping system in Russia. They're now living in a secret location.
In our situation, we had to go into a different country because there are thousands of messages on social networks in general and in newspaper articles that just tell her, don't come back, you might be killed.
Yulia Stepanova dreams of participating at the Olympic Games in Rio. She's hoping for a special right to compete because she helped to clarify the doping situation. Currently, she's still affected by the suspension of the Russian Federation, but she does not regret anything, she says.
In principle, the entire training is built upon doping. I would like it if the system were no longer to exist. It destroys sport and it destroys the future of young athletes.
They are the outcasts of the system. Other Russian insiders, in contrast, prefer to keep their knowledge to themselves. Review. In summer 2014, I visited the Russian anti-doping agency and met this man for the first time, the former chief executive Nikita Kamaev. In front of the camera, he denied any form of manipulation.
The fact that samples were swapped and that Rusada selected the athletes arbitrarily or even accepted bribes for the conduct of tests, these stories are simply laughable for professionals.
Shortly afterwards, following the ARD's revelations, Nikita Kamaev was forced to give up his job. Today, Kamaev is dead. He died very suddenly in February. Official diagnosis, heart failure. He'd been working on a highly explosive book, it is said. Whether his death also had anything to do with that is a topic for speculation.
That is absolutely absurd. These accusations or the references to it. If he had written any kind of book, then there would not have